It's a rivalry forged in war, defined by the ghosts of the past, and capped by an absolutely stunning 2026 World Cup semifinal. Right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're tracing the unbelievable path of Argentina versus England. It's a story packed with sheer brilliance, crushing heartbreak, and a whole lot of history stubbornly refusing to stay in the past.
So, listen to this post-match quote from Argentine striker Lautaro Martinez. "I dreamed it, I swear." Now, this really forces us to ask a profound question. How did a rivalry, one that was sparked by a controversial hand of God exactly 40 years ago, culminate in this precise dramatic moment in Atlanta? To truly grasp the weight of Martinez's triumph here, we actually need to go back to where the bad blood really began.
Section 1. Forging the rivalry. Decades of tension.
To understand today's heartbreak, we have to look back at how this tension compounded into international football's fiercest rivalry. It initially ignited way back at the 1966 World Cup. Argentinian captain Antonio Rattin was sent off by a German referee who didn't even speak Spanish, which prompted England manager Alf Ramsey to famously describe the Argentine players as animals. But then, the conflict moved far beyond the pitch. In 1982, the two nations fought the Falklands War, or the Malvinas War. It was a tragic conflict resulting in the loss of 285 British and 659 Argentine lives. And you can probably guess, this incredibly heavy geopolitical history funneled directly into their 1986 World Cup quarterfinal clash.
Look at Diego Maradona's own words here. They reveal exactly how emotionally charged that 1986 match was. While the teams publicly tried to keep politics out of it, Maradona later admitted that for the Argentine squad, the match honestly felt like a form of symbolic revenge for the young men who had died just 4 years prior. The lingering animosity was the undeniable backdrop of the entire game.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 1986 showdown. Makeshift shirts in searing heat.
You're gonna love this part. Strangely enough, this legendary quarterfinal started with an incredibly chaotic wardrobe malfunction. Realizing their heavy cotton away kits would just be suffocating in the searing Mexico City heat, Argentina staff literally scoured local shops with just 3 days to go before kickoff. 3 days. They found 38 lighter blue shirts, had designers hastily sew on makeshift crests, and, get this, ironed on silver numbers typically used for American football. Maradona took one look at them and declared, "We'll beat England in that." Which brings us to Section 3, Hand and Century, 4 minutes that changed football. So the first half had ended scoreless, but in the 51st minute, the ball looped high into the English penalty area off a miskicked clearance. The 5'5" Maradona jumped against the 6'1" goalkeeper Peter Shilton and punched the ball straight into the net. The referee didn't see the infringement. When pressed by reporters after the game, Maradona famously claimed the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. It's arguably the most famous quote in sports history. But then, literally just 4 minutes later, the controversy turned into undeniable, pure genius. Maradona received the ball in his own half and dashed 60 yards in 10 seconds, leaving 5 English players completely in his wake to score what became known as the goal of the century. The sheer majesty of it was captured perfectly by Uruguayan commentator Victor Hugo Morales, who broke down in tears on live radio, calling Maradona a cosmic kite. England's Gary Lineker did manage to score late in the 81st minute, but Argentina won the match 2-1 and eventually went on to win the entire tournament. And to put the cultural legacy of this single game into perspective, the very shirt Maradona wore, yes, that makeshift one hastily bought in a local shop just days prior, sold at auction in 2022 for a staggering £7.1 million. No way, right? Absolutely mind-blowing. Section 4. The 2026 Rematch. A rivalry renewed in Atlanta. After decades of traded blows, and of course we all remember David Beckham's famous redemption penalty in 2002, we jump ahead to July 2026. Both teams arrived in Atlanta laden with immense veteran experience. We're talking Harry Kane earning his record 121st cap for England. Between both teams, there were 7 starters on the pitch, aged 32 or older, which actually set a brand new World Cup semifinal record. And right at the heart of it all, Lionel Messi, still orchestrating the Argentine attack at 39 years of age.
Now, the match itself was intensely cagey, but England seemed absolutely destined for their first final in 60 years when Anthony Gordon steered home an excellent finish. But notice the eerie part here? The goal came in the 55th minute. That is the exact same minute Maradona scored his goal of the century 40 years prior. Talk about a coincidence. But this is exactly where the dynamic drastically shifted. As England's coach Thomas Tuchel admitted, his team dropped into a passive back five to protect their precious lead. They ended up inviting wave after wave of intense Argentine pressure, unable to keep possession, and essentially leaving themselves entirely at the mercy of Messi and his teammates.
Section 5. History repeats itself. The 40-year mirror.
As you know, sports storytelling thrives on dramatic irony and the ghosts of the past. What unfolded in those final minutes felt like it was scripted by history itself. Look at this parallel. In 1986, a 2-1 Argentine victory shattered English dreams, driven by their legendary number 10. Exactly 40 years later to the dot, the scoreline mirrors perfectly, a 2-1 Argentine victory, shattering English dreams just when they thought they had it in the bag, this time orchestrated by their modern, legendary number 10.
The comeback was just incredibly swift and ruthless. In the 85th minute, Messi found Enzo Fernandez for a brilliant equalizer from outside the box. Then, deep in added time, at the 92nd minute, Messi recycled a loose ball and crossed it perfectly to substitute Lautaro Martinez, who buried it at the far post. The 39-year-old completely shattered the English defense with 2 late game-changing assists.
I think Argentina's coach, Lionel Scaloni, hits the nail on the head here. He captures the sheer resilience and spirit of his squad. Following a similar comeback against Egypt earlier in the tournament, this team simply refuses to stay down. As Scaloni says, "We are unique." It's this unyielding belief that always seems to activate at its absolute highest frequency whenever they are facing their oldest rivals across the pitch.
So as Argentina happily marches on to the final in New York, Band-Aid completely gutted England heads home once again, we are left staring at one big, lingering question. When, if ever, will this incredible cycle of sports history finally break?